Happy Mental Push Up Monday, baby. We here. If this is your first time joining, my name is Andrea Fitzgerald. I'm an author, a speaker, also a person really obsessed with personal growth and development. So each week we get in the gym and we do our mental push-ups because the most challenging and rewarding work we will ever do is on ourselves. Now I told y'all, I'm bringing mental push-up Monday. I said I had to slow down to speed up, so we gonna remix it a little bit. I told you I wanted to upgrade it because I have a lot to say, but it is people out here that's crushing out here, and they have all these amazing stories of things that they've overcome, and we can all relate to that. Their vulnerability, openness, and the challenges they've encountered. So I'm super excited today to have a very special guest. Shout out to R Janel. Did I say that right? R Janel?
You did. You
Yes,
did, R
yes,
Janel.
yes, that's right. But super excited. So just to tell y'all a little bit about Miss R Janelle. Okay, so R Janelle from Memphis, Tennessee, raised in you know that Memphis 10, baby. Y'all better ask somebody. Um that cherish she was raised in a family that cherished leadership values, instilling in her the virtues of compassion, understanding, and empathy. Ooh, I'm ready to learn about this from a very early age. But her academic journey led her to earn two master's degrees. Okay. Equipping her with a diverse skill set. Despite the strong educational foundation, y'all, she was faced with a period where she seemed to control, where life kind of seemed to control her rather than her mastering it. So I love this. I had to bold this part. But she said, confronted by various challenges, she realized the critical role of self growth and the pitfalls of remaining stagnant. Embarking on a journey of personal development, R Janelle dedicated herself to the work necessary for transformation with emotional intelligence at the heart of her metamorphosis. So today she is passionate about sharing the insights and strategies that have significantly transformed her life and hoping to inspire and guide others in their own journeys of self-mastery and fulfillment. So you are in the right place, baby. That's what we all about over here at Mental Push Up Monday. So I know you, R Janelle, but for those that don't know you, could you tell us a little about like who are you? What do you do? Tell us a little about that.
You know what? The first thing I started to say was like my position and the role, and I'm more than like what I do for work. So I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
start with I'm an aunt of three. It's my nephew's
Mm-hmm.
birthday, my oldest nephew today, actually. Um,
Hey.
Mother, I
Okay.
mean not a mother, I'm a daughter, actually caretaker, sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I do actually we actually work together. I am an instructional leadership coach. So I coach teachers, teacher leaders, coaches that coach those people, and I actually facilitate the learning that they get.
Come on, facilitating the learning. Okay, yes, I do work with Arjanelle. We teammates out here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I'm super excited about that. Now I see you, and I love that you said that. You like I was about to start with
I
this my
was.
job.
Yeah.
Which I think is so common. I think in the black community, I got more questions, but we gonna get into. But but I see that even though that's your job, so you have written a book for emotional intelligence. Could you tell us a little about that? Like, what inspired you to write this book?
My growth. I will say the first and my curiosity, the first thing, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, when I was writing this book, I was just gonna write it. I was gonna put it on Amazon. I wanted people to learn and grow, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily want to present the book myself. I wanted to promote it
Mm-hmm.
on Amazon and stay in the background. And because I did learn more about myself and my emotions and why I even wanted to do that, now I'm here. I feel like the push, like I definitely feel led, and there's a mandate for me to do this and
Mm-hmm.
to help bring that value to other people through my own personal story.
Okay, well, we want to get into it. So that's interesting to me. You've written a book, and you said you wanted to stay in the background. You just like I just need the people to get the information. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Why was that?
Because I think I was, like I said, I came from this family of leadership, and we are used to serving and not necessarily being in the forefront. It's like helping somebody else do whatever they need to do. And I don't need to be the person that's out front, that's showing people this, saying that. I can be in the background helping you. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really what it was. And not wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be seen, wanted to be private, wanted to
Mm-hmm.
stay in my little shell, stay and keep doing things the same way that I've always done them. And that's not how you
Mm-hmm.
grow. I mean, I had to be comfortable being uncomfortable, which is what I'm beginning to do. And I'm cheering myself, which is me being uncomfortable.
Yes, I love that though. Just what you said there, because I feel that it's so much power in vulnerability. Us hearing other people's story, and it almost gives us permission to be more of our authentic self. So I'm glad that you answered the call and you leaned into your purpose. Um, Even though you like that's really not my natural orientation, but for you to share your story, it's gonna help so many people on this with this conversation today. So thank you so much for that, R
Yeah.
Janel. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So let's get into it. Okay. So let's talk about what was there like a specific place for you that sparked your interest in this idea of emotion intelligence? Because I understand you're an educator, you've done a lot of things, I'm sure, but why emotional intelligence?
Because I learned that I had to sit with them, that I had to name them, that I had to talk about them in order to get past them. It wasn't going to be like some quiet acknowledgement in my head. As a matter of fact, this quiet acknowledgement in my head would only take me so far because I hadn't learned about it. Emotional
Mm-hmm.
intelligence is not something that you're born with. It's something that grows, something that you learn about. So
Mm-hmm.
me only knowing and going off of those experiences in my head was not going to help me. And
Mm.
I had a therapist that it wasn't the best experience at the time, and she
Uh-huh.
wasn't necessarily the right therapist for me, but she told me what I needed to hear. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and she told me that I had to stop being the victim. Now at the time I was upset about that. Not to say that I was not the victim, I was, but I had to
Right.
stop playing that in my head and I had to move past that. In order for me to do that, I had to up my intelligence, my emotional vocabulary, my emotional literacy. I had to do that if I was gonna change and I was gonna move. So
Mm.
I didn't like
Mm.
it at the time, but she was right.
Yeah, I love that. I have some follow up questions. I'm gonna tell
Okay.
you, I got questions.
Okay.
Okay, so something that I heard you say. You said something quiet acknowledgement. Like for those that are listening and they may not know what that is, what do you mean by that?
Like in my head, I could say, that hurts, but I'm gonna keep moving. Like I acknowledged it, but only to myself,
Mm-hmm.
and not anyone else. I didn't name it. Like you said, like I wasn't vulnerable with anybody else. I wasn't as transparent with
Mm-hmm.
anybody else, which is why this is such a big thing for me. There may be people that have known me for years that see this and say, "Oh, really?"
Mm.
Because you wouldn't know. So really, what I was doing was masking, and I wasn't dealing with the emotions. And I say that some people would maybe say, really, but you're not
Mm-hmm.
hiding what you think you're hiding as well as you think you're hiding it. So,
Girl, come on.
yeah,
Yes, that's a whole fact. Cause you
yeah.
you be thinking you covering too. Like you like, oh yeah. Nah, they see
Mm,
that thing clear as day and it shows
clear.
up and it comes out in unconscious ways. Now,
Yeah.
I have a follow up question because I think that this is a common thing in the Black community,
Hmm.
masking, especially Black women.
Hmm.
Like just you. Oh, we're so strong. We just we just
Yeah.
carry on. You deal with it. Like you said, I acknowledge it to myself. I'm sad, but whatever, girl. I got things to do. Whatever.
Hmm.
What? Why do you think that's such a common thing in our community? What was it for you that where you learned that quiet
Hmm.
acknowledging and not acknowledging
Hmm.
your feelings. Mm-hmm.
I think because I think it was, first of all, it was taught through action, certainly not like someone actually saying it out. I was allowed to talk about my
Mm-hmm.
feelings,
Mm-hmm.
but I think for me, what it was is
Mm-hmm.
my father wasn't there in the way that he needed to be. So all of the burden was on my mom to do things. So
Mm-hmm.
we had to do things for ourselves. And so we didn't always have the time. We didn't have the time to like fall out in the floor and cry, or, because, you had to get up and make your breakfast or get your school's clothes ready or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
thing is. And also we were taught to be goal oriented. So you have things you have to do, and you have accomplishments you have to, work towards. So you don't necessarily have time for that, to deal with your feelings. You can
Mm-hmm.
just acknowledge it, put it on the back burner, and keep going. Not really deal with it.
Right. Wow, that's
Yeah.
real deep. That's real deep. Because you said something that you said there was that you number one, you said you feel like your father was not there and your mom kind of took on that almost that superwoman cape. That's what my therapist always says. Like as black women, we have this we the black woman super woman cape where we've got
Mhm.
to do it all. So like you said, I didn't learn that by her saying, "Hey, you got
Yeah.
to do it all," but just by what you saw
Mhm.
influence, how you showed up. And also something you said there about being goal oriented. I think that's a common thing in the black community because I
Mhm.
can I can relate to our parents. I don't know if your parents are like, listen, you just gotta work harder. You gotta get it done. You ain't got time to talk about how you feel. So it's even sometimes weird at work when they're like, oh yeah, go ahead and take a day. It's like, really?
Really?
Right. So I'd love to dig more into you said your dad not being there because I do think that's a common experience
Mhm.
for black women in particular. How do you think that affected you and your emotional intelligence?
Um, him not so he wasn't there in the way that
Mm-hmm.
he would need to be, but also with that, for whatever reason, with me in particular, I was treated
Mm-hmm.
differently, and yeah, it wasn't it wasn't in a nice way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that added on to the fact that you weren't there, and you weren't there in the way that I needed you to be.
Mm-hmm.
And again, people's actions, especially as a child, are teaching you things. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, even with him, like he may send us a card, and in the card it said that he loved us, but I don't think he ever said that to any of us in person. I don't
Mm.
I don't think he dealt with his emotions. And again,
Wow.
people, they teach you by what they do, not even by what they say. They teach you by what they do. And I think yeah, I had a lot of subconscious beliefs that I didn't
Right.
realize that I had because of that
Mm-hmm.
treatment and because of that absence.
That's deep. That's deep. And I almost hear you saying that you learned from what he did. Like you heard like, oh, he sent the card up,
Hmm.
love you, but didn't actually hear those words and
Or act
because you
on it.
didn't or act on it. Okay, got you. So what did you interpret that as is if he's not doing, those things per se?
To trust what people do and not what they say. So
Mm,
essentially, not to trust it, not to trust in a healthy way. Like, not to say I didn't ever trust anybody, but
mm-hmm,
yeah, you had to work to earn it. I
mm,
didn't trust in the way that I needed to, in a healthy way.
mm. Got you. So do you think so you said you didn't trust in a healthy way. So what does that look like? Not trusting in a healthy way.
Being really suspicious of people, or
Mm.
even maybe it taking like a lot longer than it should for me to trust you. Like, okay, this person has shown you they're trustworthy. Calm down. You can open
Right.
up. Yeah, but I
Okay.
didn't open up in the way that I needed to with people, which is
Oh,
why
okay.
y'all found out about the book so late. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm so used to doing it, and I was like, I haven't shared this with people, and there was probably a
Mm,
little fear behind that too. And when I
mm.
did, it was amazing how people received it. So
Oh, absolutely. A book is a big deal.
yeah,
It's a big deal. So shout out to you and y'all. It's dropping today, May 6th, y'all. Y'all better get out there and grab one of these. Listen,
yes.
y'all better get one of these, okay? Leveraging emotional intelligence. Hey, let's go. Okay, anyway. All right. Ooh, we getting real good in here. Okay, so let's talk about missteps because I imagine you did not walk in the world like, oh my gosh, I want to do emotional intelligence. That's my jam. That's what I. So
Yeah.
like, tell me about like when you realize, okay, baby, we got to work on this. Like, and how did that impact you? Was there like a specific instance for you?
Actually, I can think of two.
Mm-hmm.
With friends. One, my friend, I was upset about something that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this was that victim thing. This was a few years ago, but it was that victim mentality. And so
Okay.
she said something,
Mm-hmm.
um, just really, she was using empathy and saying, well, seeing it from this person's perspective. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember exactly what the phrase was, but I
Mm-hmm.
know that whatever she said, I did not hear. I heard something else. I processed something totally different
Mm-hmm.
because of my emotions and my feelings, and because of I had not dealt with them. So
Mm-hmm.
she was like, "That is not what I said," and I was like, "Dang, that is not what she said." Another
Mm-hmm.
friend, I she was talking to me, and really, essentially, I just kept interrupting her while she was talking. She was telling me a really good story, and I was excited. I kept interrupting her, and the tone that she used, she was like, "I'm about to tell you if you wait and let me talk." And something clicked in me too. So essentially, those two stories is just
Mm-hmm.
about me being more self-aware. So I became
Mm-hmm.
more self-aware of how my actions affected other people, and it led me to
Mm-hmm.
like dig deeper and say, okay, what is this stemming from? Because people don't understand, like, you don't just do, it stems from something. It stems from some emotion that you're not, yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
haven't, you either haven't dealt with it or you're not aware, you haven't identified it yet. So
That's real good. That's real good. So you in a conversation, somebody was sharing something with you, and you were hearing something completely different in
yes,
conflict.
yes.
Um, and you said you kept interrupting. What was it? What was that about? Like, what were those two things about for you? Like, why am I hearing something different, and why do I want to interrupt?
You know what? Now the interrupting thing, that just made me more self-aware. And I promise you, I really delved into this, but I think the interrupting thing just comes from me being in a large family. There are always like when we get together, there's always someone talking. So you have to like jump in. I really have tried to make sure that that is not
Right.
something
Okay.
stemming from something else. But it's still just it was a moment where I realized like my actions affect other people, and so I need to pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to how they react to what I do more. But
Mm-hmm.
the other friend that was talking, and I heard something different, that stemmed from rejection. So
Mm.
I was actually talking to her about something that my father had done that was really hurtful.
Okay.
And it in the moment, I just want you to say, "Yep, that was wrong. They were wrong. This should have happened. That should have happened." But
Mm-hmm.
she was saying, "Well, what about this thing?" And it was just like, "No, no, no.
Mm.
I'm the person that was wrong. Like you're rejecting me by saying like you're like having this different perspective." And it was
Mm-hmm.
just like added on to rejection, but I had to realize like that's not what it was at all.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. That's so deep. Whoa, that's good. Because I think a couple of things that I'm hearing when I hear you say that. Number one, you can only meet people from your level of awareness. So what you because you had not dealt with your own rejection, you heard something different. And I can so
Rejection,
relate to
rejection,
that.
rejection.
Yep, yep, I can so relate to that because when me and my partner first got together, she would give me feedback and I ain't hear none. She said I heard something completely different because I had no emotional vocabulary. Like I didn't know what I was like, conflict, what's this? Um, so that self-awareness piece is so important, but also it's so interesting to me when I hear people talk about this idea of emotional intelligence that a lot of times it stems from like we learn from the people closest to us.
Mhm.
Like you said, these friendships, I'm sure that people who mean a lot to you, um, but also understanding the impact when you do things on other people. I think that's huge in that emotional intelligence.
Mhm.
Because I think that part right there, baby, that thing you be
I
like,
think
what
that's
is
the
that?
game changer. I really
Yeah,
do.
it
Yeah.
is. It is.
That
It is.
coupled with empathy.
Mm, yeah, yeah. So I'm excited to hear more about this because empathy has been a challenge for me, even as a classroom teacher. Like it's been. So how have you grown in the like? How have you learned to grow through that empathy and gain that?
Um, I think the self-awareness piece really helped guide me into the empathy. So we can use my father again. And actually, just kind of had this revelation in therapy the other day. But I, for years, have realized, right, therapy, like there's something that could be wrong. There may be a mental health issue, and like you said, even within our community, just me acknowledging that, me saying that, being vulnerable and transparent. I'm not saying for sure that it is, but even the saying it out loud in front of
Mhm.
people is a big thing. So there's a lot of shame when I started thinking that associated with things. So you don't want to say that. But
Mm,
it is what it is. And so realizing that it feels very personal.
mm,
And I was a victim. I'm a victor now, but something had to happen with him. There's something going on. There's something that has to happen with him in order for this to happen to me. And when I realized that, it just began, I don't know, this melt away from me. It lifted this
mhm,
burden from me, to
mhm,
understand that apparently he's a victim too. Something, I don't know, whatever that
mm,
thing is, there is something that happened to him that
mhm,
he needs help with, just like I do.
mm. Ooh,
Um,
girl, that's a
yeah,
that's a gem right there. That's
yeah.
a gem. What you said right there, he is a victim of something too.
Hmm.
That is so powerful. Because um like how do you even, well, I have a couple thoughts and then I got
Right.
follow questions. Okay. um so like I said, you get to the point where you're like, well, you know what, he's a victim of something too, because you don't just wake up one day and be like, you know what, I'm gonna treat my kids like this. And again, going back to the idea of people can only meet you to their level of awareness. Like, this is your experience. This is probably how I'm possibly going to experience you. But something that I saw on a podcast is that we experience our parents' trauma all the time. Like, what we don't deal with, their kids have to deal with. If what we don't deal with, our kids will have to deal with. And it's almost this idea. I don't know about you, but it's kind of like thinking that our parents, like, of course they should do this, like almost this level of perfection that they should have when they have had their own life experiences that have shaped how they show up in parenting and in other spaces. So I think that is just so powerful. And something else I want to add on it, I'm gonna shut up and I got a follow-up question.
Okay.
Something you said about shame, I'd love to hear a little bit more, because you said me telling this information is so personal. I think something's
Hmm.
going on. Like, how do you work with that idea?
Um, now, now I feel like there's somebody that needs to hear this that would benefit from it. I'm in this space where I have learned, and I'm like you, where I really am getting a little bit obsessive about personal growth and development, and and so I just understand, and not only that, I have a responsibility once I learn and I grow to bring that value to someone else. And I really try to show up into whatever space I'm in and add value. And
Mm-hmm,
so letting somebody know that this thing happened to me too, there is so much power in relatability. Letting people
mm-hmm,
know that this thing happened to me too, um is powerful, and it frees people. So
mm-hmm,
I'm not ashamed of it anymore. It just is what it is. And people have things going on, whether they say that thing or not. So
mm.
I'm going to be the person that says that thing, and I take the power away from the shame by exposing it and saying it and putting it out there. Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay, Brene Brown. All right. Okay. That's she has this book about perfectionism. I thought it was just me. I think it's what it's called. But that's what she said. When we keep
Okay.
shame locked away, I don't. You ever heard of a petri dish? Like a petri
Hmm.
dish in
Yeah.
science? Yeah, they said
Yeah.
it just if you don't open it, it just continues to grow, and you
Hmm.
feel worse and you feel worse. Because I'm learning that more as far as like being direct with people. It's just better to call a thing a thing. It's better to just put it
Hmm.
out there, expose yourself, say your feelings and stuff like
Yes.
that. Because you're right, it gets worse. It gets worse,
Yeah.
and your filters, them things, baby, them
Hmm.
things get real when you don't expose what's going on
Yeah.
internally, even to
Hmm.
yourself. So I love
Hmm.
hearing you name that. Okay, I got more questions.
Okay.
All right, anything else you want to add to that before we move on?
No, I when you said that conflict is something that I still deal with, like conflict. with people that I care about, and I think it just made me think of rejection and like that fear
Mm,
of that person being taken away from you. But again, it
mm,
comes across as something different, even for me, isolation, because instead of dealing with the thing, I would just not. And then after a while, it's just like I don't want to, because I really would have so much anxiety behind it. It's like I kind of withdraw from the person because I
mm-hmm,
would rather do that than have this conflict and I don't know. I don't, who knows what would happen and I lose you.
mm,
So what I do
right.
is withdraw. And that is something I feel like I saw with my father. So I just say
Mm,
that to say, to relate, like what you're doing that you think you just do, you don't just do. So it benefits you to delve into it so that you know why you're doing what you're doing. And now you're more conscious and intentional about it. Because it's in your
mm.
subconscious and you don't know the what and the why.
Ooh, I love that. Listen, you've
Yeah.
been on the sofa, baby. I can tell you've been on the sofa because that part right there, you are so right about that. It's you just ain't out here just doing stuff.
No. Mm-mm. You're not.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's not even that easy. Now I won't say not easy, but it's not even that simple. Of I do this, I'm gonna stop doing this. Like it's that's something that my therapist has pushed me on. Is like, why are we doing this?
Go deep. Go deep.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna tell you something that
Uh-huh.
seemed really trivial and maybe
Mhm.
even seems really Memphis, but
Mhm.
it was deeper for me. So
Mhm.
when I say road rage, like, do you remember what is that movie? Have you seen that movie where that guy starts following that lady in the truck? It wasn't all that,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I did feel like you're not gonna debo me out here in these literal streets. So sometimes I was definitely speed racer. I would get mad, don't get over in front of me because I am going to drive up and I'm gonna make sure I get back in front of you. Like all of those things. And so I just thought, like, okay, I need to work on it. I need to calm
Okay.
down. It's not that serious. But what I came to realize is that I was mistreated. So that small thing of somebody coming
Mm,
over and getting over in front of me, I felt like you were getting over on me and you were mistreating me and you're not gonna do that. So I had to show you
mm.
that you're not gonna mistreat me. So it can be something really small that you don't think is a thing, but it's a thing and it's a deeper thing than what you're realizing. So
Oh, wait, that's good. I think that's such a great example
yeah.
of how that can show up because one might think, oh, I just got road rage,
Hmm.
but just like what you said, the why, oh, you're mistreating me, and that's not gonna happen. So, baby, I'm about to pull up and yes, in Memphis and be gangsta out here.
Right. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
dial that back. Dial it back.
okay. That's very insightful. I think that's a really great example. So y'all take heed to that, to what she just said, that we are really like the why of what we do. It's more than just
Yeah.
what we're doing out here. It's why we're doing it. Okay. So like in this journey of emotional intelligence, like did you experience like a turning point in this journey, like a moment where it really clicked for you? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. So I've been doing this for quite a bit of time, but
Okay.
there was a moment where a light bulb did click, and I had a
Mm-hmm.
really good leader tell me, he didn't just
Mm-hmm.
tell me that I had imposter syndrome. But
Mm-hmm.
I actually told him, well, I feel this way and I feel that way. And he was like, you have imposter syndrome. And I was like, he was
Mm-hmm.
like, look it up. And I said, that is absolutely it. He was like, you have everything you need. You need inside of you to do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, all the things you have the degrees. You got to
Mm-hmm.
trust yourself and like addressing those self-limiting beliefs. But like having
Mm,
that light bulb click for me was the turning point. Like that's really when stuff really kind of started just falling into place and I realized like, okay, yeah, that's true. Like, yeah,
mhm.
you got this.
Yeah.
So really like addressing those self-limiting beliefs,
Mm,
starting to do that really started this light bulb in me.
mm. I think that's just something that's continued to be a through line in this conversation today is awareness is a big part of emotional intelligence. I
Yes.
mean, it's humongous. Because
Yes.
even you said right there, you're like, well, I realized I had imposter syndrome because and that kind of led you to start exploring the beliefs. It has me thinking about something that a young Levazan always says, you can't repair what you're unaware of.
Yeah.
So I definitely can see how awareness is such a big deal when we talk about EQ and emotional intelligence. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Something else she said was basically you have people mirroring to you what you either want to dress or you're unaware of. And so when
Mm,
you start seeing things in other people, because oddly enough, with that experience I had with my friend, like the night before, I was talking to my brother and sister, and I was like, y'all keep interrupting me. Now I had just said that to them, but I did it to my friend the very next day. Yeah.
ah, yeah, that is so
Yeah.
true, man. That's so true. Because I had told I've been telling my partner for years. I'm like, yo, I don't like your tone. I don't like the way you talk to me. And you know what my mom told me is, and a couple people told me, and then we went to the street last week, and they were like, yo, your tone when you give it feedback. I was like, dang,
Eh,
I got to clean that up. But you know,
yeah.
I ain't realized I had a tone sometimes. I could be like super direct if I got something to get done. I ain't got no feelings out here. But yeah,
Hmm.
you sure right about that. That thing was put you in a
Same
vase.
here.
Put you in a vase.
Yep.
Now let me ask you this, because I think it is easy to play the victim. You talked about your journey in the beginning. You were like, boo, your therapist was like, you being a victim out here.
Hmm.
And I think that is a common thing in our society. You know, you look at the news, to me it's victim riddle. It's like, oh, this
Yeah.
poor me. But the reality is that you do have to take responsibility. How did you get to a place where you were like, all right, girl, I can't blame everybody else? Because I think that is something that, just in general, we have a victim inside of us. Like, dang,
Hmm.
you want to be like it's everybody else's fault. But how did you get to a better place with that?
You know what? I actually read a book called Embracing the Father's Love. Um,
Mm,
and it just kind of, yeah, got me up out of this place where I was like, okay, yeah, he did this thing, or um they did this thing, because the they is the other people that honestly I didn't realize I was attracting into my life because I wasn't
mm,
dealing with my emotions and myself. So yeah, I was really looking for someone to mistreat me or whatever the thing. And
mm,
when I say mistreat, it's like things like, oh, she didn't like me for whatever reason. Not that I made it up; it was truth, but I was constantly thinking these things and I was constantly getting them. I was constantly on this meal. So I read this book and it dawned on me, like, I've been doing these things, and I started apologizing to people in my life. Like, I didn't realize I was showing up in this way.
mm,
And so I'm sorry, and it's time for me to start dealing with these things, because yes, this thing happened to me, but now I'm responsible for how I happen to other people, what I do. So I can't keep saying but yeah. No. But yeah, and now I'm moving on from that, and I'm moving past that, and I realized that's the way that I was going to heal. So that was really the
mm,
major. That's the way that I'm going to heal, to move past that.
that's a gem right there. That's a
Yeah.
whole gem. This is what
Yeah.
happened to me. But if I do not address this, I don't want to happen to other people. Y'all heard it, baby. That's a gem. Leveraging emotional intelligence. Y'all better grab one of these,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
That's deep.
Yes.
I mean, oh,
Yeah.
that's
And
deep.
I had to deal with my emotions. I had to learn about them to be able, to name them. It helped me a lot in therapy, because at first, before I started learning about my emotions, I said, I told my story. I kind of ruminated around the victim thing. But then we
Mm,
had much more to talk about. Once I started, I became very, very reflective.
mm,
I became really reflective. And once I started, something might hit me driving in the car, and I'm like, yeah, let's talk about that thing. So
mm,
yeah, if I hadn't learned more about my emotions, I definitely would be in the same place for sure.
mm, mm. What has helped you get better at naming them? Because I think like that is the first step, I'm imagining, to just even being like, you know what, girl, I'm sad. Um
Yeah.
Versus, like you said before, that quiet acknowledgement. What helped you get to a better place of just naming what you felt inside?
Practice,
Mm,
really, just practicing it and just doing the thing, like doing the hard thing, jumping, like jumping out there. So literally doing the hard thing. And when I say jumping out there, literally could be like me journaling and
Mm,
admitting, like it was very hard for me to admit at first that I was affected by the rejection from my father. It was
mm,
I had my granddaddy, I had my uncles, and my goddaddy. That conglomerate made up a good daddy for me, and I thought I was good until one day I realized, no, I still need my natural father to be a
mm-hmm,
natural father. That's hurtful. So
mm,
yeah, yeah, acknowledging that in whatever way that looks like, and keeping practicing it, like yeah,
mm.
practicing it, naming that small thing. Like I would do things like not like my nail polish and not say anything, like this color didn't really look good
Wow.
on me. Yeah, so
Wow.
just practicing, like something small like that could be something that you start with, to just
Mm-hmm.
start naming the thing, saying this, I don't really like this, can we change this?
Mm. I think something else to consider. I just want to ask you this: has it been perfect on that journey of practicing?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so, and I've
Mm-hmm.
definitely, and so what helped me with that is just giving myself grace.
Mm.
Just giving myself grace. Okay, you know what? You slick one off today. Um, and that was not cool. Do better tomorrow. And then also
Mm.
acknowledging it, like say, hey, you know what, I didn't want to talk like that, or I felt like it was this. The person may not have even, it may not have affected them in the way that you thought it did, but you know
Mm-hmm.
that you're trying to do better in that area. So acknowledge
Mm-hmm.
it and give yourself grace.
Mm-hmm. That part right there, I think that's huge. That grace part, because
Yeah.
especially when you leaning into something new, you gonna botch it a couple. I mean, probably more than a couple
Yes,
times. It's
more than
messy
a
as
couple.
heck. Oh my gosh. When I first started trying to have courageous conversations, them junks, hell, they hard. First of all, I
Yes.
mean, it takes me weeks to get it right in my mind before I have the conversation, but at least I do it. I wouldn't even do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm talking about, like just like you said, I'm just inside fuming because I refuse to
Yep.
have the conversation.
Yep.
And yeah, it just doesn't work out. It hasn't worked out. So
No.
yeah, I love you, especially naming that, and would love to like also just kind of build off of this idea. You said that acknowledging the pain of your dad not being there. I think that can be a common experience that people have. Um, so would you say, like, if I'm a person and I'm having like daddy issues, would you say that, like, would you say that you had daddy issues, or
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
what would you say to that person to help them like navigate that? Because I mean, I imagine it took a while for you to be like, yeah, this is kind of painful. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what would you
Yeah.
say to them?
To sit with your emotions, because that was the problem. Like I wasn't doing that. I was saying, I don't need him. Like, whatever. I had Nick rolling. Like, it's fine. It's okay. I have my support system, and that's good. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you still need him to be a father. So sit with those emotions. My therapist told me to literally just sit there and think about it, cry, journal about it. Like when you think about it, don't push it down.
Mm-hmm.
Cry. And so it may come out in a way that you really didn't expect. The first time that I went to a therapist, I could not believe how much I cried. Um, because it's, yeah, I mean, it's like a well now. It's just all this water pouring out, like this big pitcher of water pouring out, because it's been suppressed all these years. Like you kept telling
Mm-hmm.
yourself this thing, but subconsciously that was not the case, and it was coming out in my actions. So
Mm-hmm.
that was really big for me, to just sit with it and grieve it. Grieve the fact that your father may not ever be the person, probably will not ever be the person that you need him to be, even in this moment as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Grieve the fact that you didn't get that as a child. Grieve it. It's okay to
Mm-hmm.
be upset and to be sad about it. That's human.
Mm-hmm.
So I would honestly say that's the first step.
Mm. Yeah. So just acknowledging it, it sounds like. And follow up question. So how did this show up in your dating life? Because I'm imagining if we got daddy issues, it shows up in our relationships and choices
Yeah.
of people we make, or even our own behaviors. Like we don't even realize it. Like, okay, girl,
Yes.
like tell me a little bit about that.
So one thing I was kind of like, in one instance, it was like you really didn't have too many chances with me, because yeah, I wasn't going for it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no. Um, but then also just acknowledge, like, just the people that I attracted. I I started noticing, like, that's something my father would do. That's some accountability my father wouldn't take. Like, he would act
Mm-hmm.
like he didn't just do that thing or say that thing. When I acknowledge my, like, tell him how I feel about something, he would dismiss my feelings. Like, those were the type of people that I was
Mm-hmm.
attracting. So if you have those issues, I think any girl does that. Like, she seeks
Mm-hmm.
her father out. So some people got it good. Some people
Mm-hmm.
not so much. So you need to deal with it so that you seek out that ideal guy that you want to
Mm-hmm.
date or marry or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, because if you don't deal with it, you're going to keep going in circles. And
Mm-hmm.
because that's what your subconscious is doing. So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to keep getting different versions of your father, and that's definitely what I did.
Okay. So I'm imagining your choices have changed now, like as you've continued to
Definitely.
grow and evolve, like you are looking at, I mean, certain qualities I'm certain that matter
Yeah.
now
Mhm.
versus like
It's different.
before. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I think what I was doing, I am certain what I was doing subconsciously was trying to make it okay with somebody else. So he didn't accept me. Here I have this person that has these traits like him. I'm gonna get
Mm-hmm.
this person to do the thing and to treat me fair. Like, that's what it became.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely am making better choices now. Yeah.
Go ahead then. Listen, that's what's up. Because I believe that relationships are personal growth machines and they show us where we got to grow. Because by
Yeah.
yourself, you be like, oh girl, I'm good. I
I'm
did
good.
it. Man, you get in a relationship, you triggered, you be like, oh, there's something to explore here. What is that about?
Yes. Yes.
Because like you said, your reaction is just not a reaction. Um, but if you don't take that time to process it, you can get into that victim mode of it's the other person, it's them,
Yeah.
when it's
And it
really an
literally
opportunity.
affects your brain. I'm sorry.
Mm.
It
Tell me
literally
more.
affects your brain. Yeah, it like your emotions are created in your brain by neurotransmitters and like your hormones. So
Mm-hmm.
like it of course that's gonna affect your actions, and you're just gonna go off straight off of that. Of course your experiences and those things too, but that's a huge part of emotional intelligence, and that's like managing those emotions and using self-control. Like you said, um like taking time to have this conversation instead of
Mm-hmm.
just in the moment when someone makes you mad, or even if there's a thing that needs
Mm-hmm.
to be dealt with, like in the moment you may just be like, yeah, no, that ain't it, when the person doesn't need to hear it that way. So when you take
Mm.
time to think about it and get your thoughts and stuff together, then you manage those emotions so that you can do the thing or say the thing, because it helps you manage your emotions and other people's emotions, even when they don't manage their own emotions. You can be
Mm.
the calm person that says, okay, I'm ready to flip, but they're already flipping. let's
Mm-hmm.
let's calm it down and calm them down first. So
Mm. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Because I almost hear just because you, I think I had someone else talk about EQ, be like, just because I want to curse you out because you do something that I don't agree with does not give me permission to do that
I curse
because
you
I'm
out.
not managing myself. Yes, I don't get a right to do that just because someone does
Mm-mm.
something I don't like. So it's really
Right.
about you managing yourself, but also thinking about, I heard you say something about like the delivery of that message as well.
Yeah, and saying that's where that empathy piece comes in again, where you
Mm-hmm.
say this thing may, again, you're aware that people don't just do things. So you say, you know what, I'm gonna dial it back here. I'm not gonna say it today. I'm not saying in this way or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because you're helping that person manage their emotions whether they know it or not.
Okay. Oh, tell me more about that. I want to hear about that. That part. How you know you helping
I
how
mean,
you helping to manage their emotion?
but even if you don't know the cause of the thing, you know that this is an unusual reaction to whatever just happened. And it's not,
Mm.
so we can go back to the car instance. You know that if somebody's trying to look over at you or something, like, now it's like, oh, okay, we at this light, bit. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so you, once you realize like it's really not that serious. I don't even know this person. Like, I'm telling you, Fitz, I could get to my room like on the way to work. I get to my classroom. I'm telling you, it's lunchtime, and I'm still thinking about what that random person on the street did. Wow, it's not that serious. And so when you are there with this person that wants to get mad, that wants to race, that wants to jump in front of you, you realize it's something else, and it's not me. It's not this random person on the street that's driving that you don't even know. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to help you manage your emotion. You can go ahead of me. You can go ahead and cut me out. Whatever the thing is, you're helping
Mm-hmm.
that person manage their emotion, whether they even realize it or not.
By you not being just as explosive as they are.
Yes,
By
by
you,
you not being reactive like them. Yeah.
that's a girl. We still in the mental gym on that one. We doing push-ups on that joint. But it does. You're right though. It does help to take space. It really does.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
So follow up question. What as you've gone through this process of EQ, what is something that's been a surprising challenge for you along the way?
Um, Giving myself the grace has been a surprising challenge for me because
Mm-hmm.
like trying to be that perfectionist and get things right. That has been a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think getting out of the role of who everybody knew me to be. Like,
Mm-hmm.
your brain is on automatic, and so once you start thinking differently, you can get into a space where you're used to playing this role, and you have to say, no, 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 that's not me anymore. Like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing it. But you're so used to doing the thing, so you have to get out of
Mm-hmm.
the role. And so, yeah, yeah, even like, yeah, I'm not the person going off today. Mm-mm.
We're not doing that.
You can do it. We're not, no, we're not doing it today. Or I'm not the person that's gonna say the thing,
Mm-hmm.
because people are like, Gina going, no, she not. She not. If y'all let her do it, she can do it. If y'all let him do it, they can. But I'm not gonna be the reactive person today. So sometimes you can be so used to playing this role, and it could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
The helper. You don't always need to insert yourself to be the helper, and
Mm.
explore where that comes from, that acceptance. So, getting out of that role that you may used to be, being that person.
That's really insightful. I think that's again awareness.
Hmm.
Because if you're not conscious of it, you will fall into those roles.
Hmm.
Just this is what I normally do. This is how I show up.
This is
This is
what I
what I'm
do.
used to around these
Yeah,
people. This is how I do. So
exactly.
yeah, that's really interesting. Now I know this journey is not always easy of emotional growth. Or not emotional intelligence. I tell people all the time, it would have been so easy to just stay who I was 8 years ago. I mean,
Yeah,
gosh, it's everyone else's fault. But to look
right.
in the mirror and be honest, oh my gosh, sometimes it's just getting on that couch and crying. It's
Yeah,
just, dang, it's harder than actually just being blind like you was. Like, how do you stay motivated because I don't know about you, but when I go to therapy, it's like, it's more to this. Like, dang, it's continuous. It's like this process really never ends. Like,
right.
how do you stay motivated and keep momentum going even when it gets hard in this process? Because it ain't easy.
No, it's not. Um, I have a I want life to keep getting better, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
stay in this good, happy place that I'm in. And that's honestly, that's what motivates me. Like, my life is so much better than it used to be. I am so much happier.
Mm-hmm.
I am so much more free. So I want to stay there, and I know that it gets better. And it's almost like this curiosity of like, but how much better? Like, how much better can this
Mm-hmm.
get? Because it feels so good now. Like, how much better can this get? But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what motivates me, because it is easy. It is easy to like stay stuck, because again, like, that's your comfort level. As crazy as
Mm,
that seems and that sounds, like you know that, and that's comfortable to be that old person.
mm-hmm.
But it takes work to get out of that and to get,
It
yeah, it takes
does.
work.
Mm-hmm. You ain't lying about that. It does take work.
But it's
Okay.
good though. It's worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's yeah, definitely life is a lot better since
Yeah.
since embarking on this journey. It doesn't always feel good, but it is
Yeah.
better. Can't complain.
It
It's
is
better.
better. Yep.
Okay. So okay, looking back, what has been the most valuable lesson you think you've learned with your journey with emotional intelligence? Like what for you?
To look inward. Look inward. Like I can control me. So
Mm,
even when someone, it's not letting someone off when you look inward and say, what could I have done differently? Or
mm,
um how can I address it? Like, because you can control you. So looking inward for me is really big. Like, what can I do? Because I can't control anybody else.
mm, mm. That personal responsibility sound huge in this joint.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Do you think
Yes.
that there are like any misconceptions that people have, like, or even if someone's like, "Yo, I don't even need this," like, "Yo, what you say to that person?"
Yes. I that you do. Don't play yourself. You knew. You
Mm-hmm,
do. You need it because all of this stuff is subconscious until you become aware of it, and then you can start changing it. But you don't realize that you're doing the thing, or like you don't realize that you're doing things that really you think is you. That's just me, but it's not. It's not just you. This comes from
mm,
like some experience that you had, some actions that you've seen that taught you to do these things, but it's not just you. Like, so everybody needs it and everybody can benefit from it. And if you say, well, I'm good, you still need it to be aware of other people. Like I said, in relation, manage other people's emotions.
mm,
So you need it.
mm.
You
Well, this
do.
is now I'm about to go a different direction, and I just got to ask this question because I think that you say, okay, you need it. In our community as Black people, I don't think that's something that we embrace as much. Like,
Yeah.
oh, girl, get in the corner, shut up, sit down, you good? All right, girl, you did. You know
Hmm.
what would you say to that? Because I think that is a common thing in our community. What do you think that we could do as a community to have people embrace like their feelings? You remember when you cry
Yeah.
and your parents, they just like, okay, girl, what would you say?
Yeah. Um, to keep sharing, because once you keep sharing, then something resonates with people. A light bulb goes off eventually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even if it is that thing that you share and someone has this relatable experience and they say, dang, that's what that is. And so they do what I did. They go on this apology tour and say, I'm sorry because I realize like why I did that thing. And I realized
Mm-hmm.
that must have been hurtful for you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but just to keep sharing so that the light bulb goes off with other people.
Mm. I love that. I love that. Just because it's almost like making certain things more visible when we express
Hmm.
ourselves. Um,
Yeah. Normalizing it.
yeah, yeah, because like even our parents, I don't know, like my parents, they didn't really like how they feel and stuff. Like I knew we had stuff to do and this and that, but like just their emotions. Like, today I'm having a tough day. But just like you said, the more that you share, it just gives you permission. I think it gives kids permission to share more and other
Hmm.
people in the family. But I think um in the Black community at times that we can say like, what, go in his house, stay in his house.
Hmm.
Which kind of perpetuates, I think, some of the systemic trauma and even some of the trauma that people may experience in their families. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think again, like just naming the thing and saying the thing and like normalizing it, like you said, like start making it our thing. It's
Mm,
okay to say it, to name it. I came like my mother's side. We talked about our emotions. We talked about our feelings. Sometimes I didn't feel like I feel like it kind of stayed there where we talked
Mhm.
about it, but sometimes, it's just like, okay, yeah, there was this bad thing, but now let's just get back out there and get at it again, and
Mhm.
not address it with that person that we need to address it with. But I think just saying the thing, naming the thing, and also though, like you're saying about parents and and other generations, let it start with you. Like, because you may not be able to change your grandma or your
Mhm.
granddaddy, but you can let
Mhm.
it start with you. And so your children are
Mhm.
different, and you talk more with them and you let them express themselves. Like, we could say, like, I didn't feel like this was fair. I didn't
Mhm.
think, like, it may not have changed the thing, but we still could express it. So, like, starting with yourself, and change the generations after you, if nothing else.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really like that. Yeah, it starts with you is what I kind of hear you saying.
Yeah.
So before we close that, I'd love to get a little bit about, for those of people that are like, you know what, I need to go ahead and buy this book. Tell us a little bit about it. Tell us a little about your book.
You know what? My book is a blueprint. So, like,
Mhm.
I really did write it in with the idea in mind that it's something that you keep coming back to. So it's not
Mm.
just, there are actually, like, methods in there and techniques for you to use. There's a test for you to take, and even like some suggestions of some other tests that you can take, because you need data. Not only that,
Mm.
your emotions are data. So, like, when your actions, those things, they're data for you, a place for you to start to know where you are, and then grow from there. But it's relatable. It's easy to read,
Mhm.
and it is, again, it's something that you can constantly come back to and remind yourself of those things. It is made for you to implement. Like, you can read this book, but if you don't do the things in this book, it's not going to change. Like, you're definitely going to have to take action. And, like, if it's baby steps, take baby steps. Take baby steps to start doing those things. There's even space for you to write. Like, some pages are literally left blank for you to write your thoughts or do the exercises. So it's like,
Mhm.
it's a blueprint. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's a blueprint.
Okay, I like a good blueprint. I love a good blueprint. So it sounds like it's also sounds like it's simple to follow, which I think that's always great. And I love that you said that last part too, girl. You said it works if you work it. Is it, so let's work it,
Yes.
okay? Yes.
Yes, you
All
gotta
right.
work it.
Okay. All right. So as we land this plane, just wrapping up our conversation around emotional intelligence. We know it's a lifelong journey. Like what's one piece of advice that you would want to give to our viewers, or even just one key takeaway that you would want them to take away from this conversation if they did anything from this.
Um, Take action.
Mm,
Take action. Like I said, there were certain things that I knew, like even the whole God thing. Like, I knew that thing, but until I took action and, like, really
mm-hmm,
process it, I kept doing the same
mm-hmm,
thing. You're gonna keep doing the same thing. You can read this book and you can keep doing the same thing if you don't take action. So, like, don't
mm-hmm,
just read it. Take your time and read it if you need to. Read a chapter at a time. They're short
mm-hmm,
chapters. Read a chapter at a time. Process the information. Write down your thoughts in the journal. Be reflective. Write down what it's
mm-hmm,
bringing up for you, what it makes you think
mm-hmm,
about. But take
mm-hmm.
take action, because it's not gonna
Mm.
work for you unless you work it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, it's like, so I don't know about you, but sometimes I don't take action because it's imperfect and I want it to be.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think going back to the thing that you named, that's one of the hardest parts of this journey is grace. Um, because when you realize things about yourself, you be like, oh, I was unaware that
Hmm.
I was showing up that way.
Yeah.
And it's not always pretty. I mean, sometimes it can be pretty, but sometimes it ain't. So
It's ugly.
yeah, it is ugly, but I think just giving yourself permission to be messy when you are taking this action, because
Hmm.
that it needs to be perfect sometimes can keep me so stuck and I won't do
Yep.
anything. I just get in my head and I
Right.
won't even take a step towards it when I could just be like, okay, girl, you wrong, or okay, girl,
Right.
like let's this what's going on here, So
Yeah.
I love that. Just take action even if it's ugly. Yeah.
Even if it's ugly.
So if people want to
Action
connect with
makes
you,
progress.
what you said, say it one more time for the people in the back.
And action makes progress. You got to try to be able to, and you've got to fail. You've got to fail in order to make that progress. So just know, like, it's not gonna be perfect, but that's you making progress.
What a great reminder today. That is just such a great reminder. Okay. So yeah, let me take that in for a second. Yeah, it's not gonna be perfect. So I think I'm taking it in. But for people who wanna, first of all, let me just say thank you for taking the time to share your story and
Oh,
share
you're
your message and
welcome.
just be so vulnerable. I think this is gonna help so many people, especially in our community and beyond. But for if people want to connect with you or they want to cop this book, leveraging emotional intelligence, where can they connect with you?
It's well, so the book is on Amazon. And then you can connect with me, LinkedIn, Regina Atkins, Facebook, Regina Atkins, and Instagram, I underscore am underscore R Janel.
Okay, all right. Y'all better get one of these. rjanel.com, baby. Y'all better go grab one of these.
Yes, get
Okay.
it. Go grab
Listen,
it.
listen. Yes. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you have a lot to do. You out here trying to push this book. So thank you again. I really appreciate it. You added so much value and definitely some things for me to think about as
Oh,
well.
thank you for saying
Well,
that.
thank you. Well, folks, y'all already know what it is. We are about to land this plane, and as you go out this week, I want you to keep what we call that rookie state of mind. Well, what's that, Fitz? I want you to remember as we grow, the level up is in the losses. Problems are a privilege, and yes, you might be new to this idea, but I know you're true to this because you're in this moment right now, and I believe in each one of you. So get out there this week and do those mental push-ups. And we ill. And thank you so much, Argina, for rocking with us
You are
today.